boss. When I took this case, I told judges Guadarrama and Medrano face to face, I'll get on this, but I won't beg for nickels and dimes. I'm not in this for scraps, it's time to flip the signs. I want that same open checkbook, let's raise the stakes, but the truth stays elusive while the system just breaks. They orchestrated chaos, placing bets on our lives. Hollering his voice echoes, cause the truth always survives. Lawyers stacking checks, millions going gone bongo. Spencer sold out crucial special needs for the dough. That's cold, Joe. That's real cold. Cashing in on the week while the truth remains sold.
But I am not going to beg for nickels and dimes. See, I'm not taking this case and have to worry about money for experts, money for this, money for that. I want to take that.
Like a mob boss. When I took this case, I told judges Guadarrama and Medrano face to face, I get on this, but I won't beg for nickels and dimes. I'm not in this for scraps, it's time to flip the signs. I want that same open checkbook, let's raise the stakes, but the truth stays elusive while the system just orchestrated chaos, placing bets on our lives. Holiday's voice echoes, cause the truth always survives. Lawyers stacking checks, millions going gone bongo. Spencer sold out crucial special needs for the dough. That's cold, Joe. That's real cold. Cashing in on the weak while the truth remains sold. Cashing in on the weak while the truth remains sold. Cashing in on the weak while the truth remains sold.
Okay, so hi everybody. This is day 2039 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss in a code red. So I want to make this very, very clear that it was his chain of command. It was his chain of command. It was the Director of Emergency Services. It was the FBI. It was the El Paso. Sorry, it's really late, 1 o'clock. It's like, oh, gotta relax a little bit here. But it's 1:23. But it was absolutely the FBI, and it was the El Paso Mormon faction cartel that ordered this hit on Richard and the cover-up. Richard, he's the center. He's the key. He unlocked, let's make a deal or whatever, and you have to pick the right curtain or the right door or whatever. I don't know if that's a good analogy. Maybe it's not a good analogy. But Richard absolutely opened the door, pulled back the curtain, and let us see the inner workings of this trafficking empire. Trafficking, it's huge. So I would say empire. He's the center of it. And so they absolutely forcibly removed him from the barracks room, took him downstairs, took his life in the arms room, which was a soundproof room, and then they stole his body. All of these are crimes, okay? All of these are crimes. Just they pile crimes upon crimes. And so they stole his body off of Fort Bliss. And they trafficked his dismembered body across the border for disposal. And we believe, because of all the evidence that indicates that he was disposed of at Rosa Maria Purchase Ariano Caron's narco crematorium, the Plenitude, who is a family-run business with Rafael Arellano Caron, Argo Oil and Gas, the same overlapping network as Paul Foster, who today or last night had had to be taken away because he passed out. We don't know the truth because my husband is a PA, right? My husband is a physician assistant. When you're at a ball game and you pass out, there's a lot of people there, especially if you have low sugar, that can take care of you, right? You can get a soda real quick. You can get a Snicker bar, Um, but an ambulance was called to take this billionaire, Paul Foster, to the United States. Okay, to the United States to be treated. So we think this is a big deal, that something else happened. We think it's a very big deal. And we think it's an indication that Paul Foster is under immense stress because of everything that our team, meaning you included, have documented. Because every time you share, every time you like, every time you share, every time you follow, you're documenting the crime. You're documenting it and you're filing it. Okay. So, of course, we've been doing it officially to all of the agencies. But as you know, our agencies have been infiltrated, including our military. And we'll get to that too. Um, it has been infiltrated. We have a lot of bad actors in our government systems. We all know that. Our government system is made for those that love God, right? When you have people that don't fear God, don't love God, then you know, everything gets rotten, everything gets tainted, right? Everything gets polluted. And so it's not the system that's bad, it's those that are don't have good intentions, that can't be trusted, that don't have any ethics, that don't have a family structure, right? That is conducive to a belief in a family structure, that is conducive to God's institution, because the family is God's institution, really, over and above everything else. And when you will sell out your kids and sell out your wives or sell out your husbands or um, groom them, and I don't, it's just so crazy, these family structures that we have been forced, but um, asked to investigate, that are absolutely like sex cults. Okay, that's sex cults and scammers. Very they're very into fraud and scamming, and they scam each other, and um and they turn on each other, and it's brutal. It's really brutal. And so, when you have that, you have real chaos in our system. And so we know that that is what's going on, but we have filed officially loads of documents we have put on record. And with every live stream, with every share, with every like, with every follower, that also documents this case. And we our numbers are really climbing. We've been reaching millions of people. That means millions of documenting this case. It's We're very, very grateful for that, and we ask that you don't slow down, because Paul Foster, and I know that there are some that think that, they're a nice family or whatever, but I can tell you that they're not, okay? They're not. Maybe they're nice, because, a lot of them will be imposters. They'll be nice. But there's a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde there, okay? Because we know that there are a lot of crimes that have been committed, and and they're in the midst. They're in the midst of it. They have the power to bring goodness and prosperity to El Paso and to Juarez. Okay, don't forget that Alejandro de la Vega Foster went as an American citizen. Okay, went as a foreign agent to serve in the Chihuahuan governor's government. That is so illegal, y'all. It's so illegal. With Cesar Paneche, who it was Paul Foster and Alejandro de la Vega and Woody Hunt that brought Cesar Paneche, the fuel siphoner of Pemex, up from Mexico with his Grupo Carvel. Okay, so and all of the all of the crimes that Cesar Duarte is facing, taking the embezzlement, right? Taking taxpayers' money and buying personal homes, tons of property in New Mexico and in El Paso. So, and I can go on and on and on with the crimes, and I haven't even mentioned all the worst type of crimes against children that this is all connected to. And of course, our son's case. So, I, I can tell you that Paul Foster, he under immense pressure. And I think immense pressure from his own conscience because, clearly, Jeffrey Epstein, if he invested in Jeffrey Epstein's eternal life Ponzi scheme, I think he's been sorely disappointed. Okay. Yeah, I think he's been sorely disappointed to monetize something biological that would give you eternal life. Um, and yeah, it's just not something that man can do, right? And this is where the faith in God. That's what makes God God. Is He can take our breath away and He can give our breath. It's life is His to give and to take, and only His, and that's what makes Him God. So anyone that wants to play God is just very foolish and will be very disappointed. Now that's our faith, and we move forward in the fear and the admonition of God. And I don't like to talk um, like that because you have the Erika KIRK'S in the world that talk the language of God, the language of a Christian, but behind, underneath is a family that she is not exposed. That is absolutely scamming and con men and everything, which leads us to, there's so much breaking news that I'll get to. But I wanted to talk about the scheming in the Walmart case before I get to Jeffrey Epstein winning the lottery, right? Um, and what's happening at Plenitude Crematorium and everything else. But in the video that I just played for you, which, your cold Joe, he says that he tells Judge Madrano and Judge Guadarrama that he won't get on the case for nickels and dimes. He wants an open checkbook. And we have that audio of him, and it is absolutely, we've been playing it for a long time. It is absolutely confirmed to be Joe Spencer. His words actually saying that. It's authentic. It's a totally authentic recording. And we've been playing it. And of course, if it wasn't authentic, they would have asked us to stop. So now what do we know about that audio that he went to Judge Madrano and Judge Guadarrama? Those are the two judges on the case, the state judge and the federal judge. Judge Sam Madrano was the state judge on the Walmart mass shooting case, and Judge David Campos Guadarrama, was the federal judge on the case. So he went to the judges that were assigned to the case. So I'm going to play you a next audio from him. And let's see if I can get this. Yeah. Okay, this is another audio from him, and I think it's very important to make the point that we want to make.
I'll give you an example. Yeah. When I first went to talk to him, so I told him, I said, Patrick, my name is Joe Spencer. I said, I want to have full disclosure. I said, my last name may be Spencer. I said, but my ass is 100% brown. I'm Hispanic. You have a problem with that? Because then I wanted him to, hey, I don't have any issue up front. This is where I'm at. He looks at me and goes, I'm not a racist. He looks at me and goes, I'm not a racist. Just walk through this. So no, he doesn't consider himself a racist. He doesn't consider himself a white supremacist.
Okay, and then there's another one. Let me see. Because I think I played the wrong one. There's so many, y'all.
Remember that when he drives out of the Walmart, right, and he runs into the first officer, the officer doesn't know who he is, and he tells him to leave, right, to leave. So he takes off. Then he realizes, where am I going? This wasn't supposed to end like this. I was supposed to die. So he turns around, drives back, gets off, and goes to the officer. I'm the guy you're looking for.
Okay, so, and I have another one, and I'll find it. And I wish I thought I knew exactly which one it was. But when he first goes and sees Patrick Crusius, he says he went there 2 days after the incident, which was a Monday. Okay, because the incident was on a Saturday. He went there on a Monday. And we know that because of the application for appointed counsel, that was signed very early morning on the Sunday, just hours after the shooting. So you had the shooting, and hours later on a very early Sunday morning, without really an investigation, because we believe now that they were trying to protect the wealth of John Brian Crusius, the disciple of John of God, right? Because he had, between $1 and $3 million, okay, and probably more than that. probably more than that, up in Allen, Texas. He had plenty of money to get a lawyer for his son, but because of the application for appointed counsel that got approved early morning on a Sunday, the taxpayers were on the hook of paying for Patrick Crusius's defense. And then nobody looked into Brian Crusius, the father, who was a disciple of God, which we know now is that pipeline between Jeffrey Epstein with John of God and the babies and Oprah and Beto O'Rourke and Obama and the Clinton Foundation, and all of that is included in that, with William Sanders, that they're all part of this pipeline, this Jeffrey Epstein pipeline, with Pritzker up in Chicago, and more people are being added to that pipeline. So he's saying 2 days later, that Monday, I went in to see Patrick Crusius on the taxpayer's dime, and not any taxpayer's dime, because he was awarded an open checkbook. Okay. He was, because a lot of times there would be like a $20,000 cap. Okay. We'll let taxpayers pay for your defense with a $20,000 cap. But that's not what happened here. Joe Spencer received an open checkbook. He could drag out that case for as long as he wanted and collect millions. Okay. And Joe Spencer was awarded that position because the judges have to appoint, from my understanding, the lawyers that are on it. Or maybe it is a random selection where they have to spin the wheel, right, and see which lawyer gets it. But we'll look into that, because some weird things are happening right now. That is exactly what happened in the Walmart case. And Joe Spencer said he went in and visited Patrick Crusius, and Patrick Crusius then said, I'm not a racist. I don't have any racism. I don't have any racism. Okay. And we have other audio that he confirms that Patrick Crusius is autistic. They knew this very, very early on because of his medical history, that he was autistic. That's why I can say it on a live stream, because it's all revealed now that he is autistic with other mental health conditions. Okay, with others. So he's had a history of these mental health conditions, including autism. And they did not. Okay, so when that happens, his attorney, the court, need to make sure that Patrick Crusius is tested for competency, that he understands what he is going to go through, and to see if he's competent to go through a capital penalty hearings, trial, all of that, right? Yet there was never a competency evaluation given to Patrick Crusius. They hid it from the public. They hid it from the public that the public was on the hook for millions of dollars so that Joe Spencer can have his open checkbook. They hid that he went in right. Well, maybe they didn't hide it right away. They brought in the other guy from San Antonio too, to be Patrick Crucius's attorney. You see that? I know his name, but it's so late right now. And the point that I want to make is Sam Medrano wasn't on the case yet. I don't believe that even David Guadarrama was even assigned yet. Okay? Neither one of those judges were assigned yet to the case of Patrick Crucius. So why is Joe Spencer telling Judge Guadarrama and Judge Medrano that he's not going to take the case unless he gets an open checkbook? I mean, he's not saying other judges. He's not saying I told the judges at the courthouse. No, he is saying to the judges for the federal case and the state case before they were even assigned, which has to be a lottery pick. Now for Judge Guadarrama, it would be pretty easy to say he would be on it. But for Sam Medrano, who picked him? Because there was another judge that started the Walmart case, Burnell, right? I think her name is Burnell, or so she was the first judge on the case. Joe Spencer never said, I went to her to tell her I'm not going to get on this case unless I get an open checkbook. No, he went to Sam Medrano, and Sam Medrano winded up being the judge on the case. And it's very interesting that these main cases, these very high profile cases in El Paso seems to always wind up in the most corrupt judge's hands, Sam Medrano. And he is the most corrupt judge in El Paso, in El Paso history. Okay? In El Paso history, he is the most corrupt judge. Totally dirty. Through and through. Through and through. From top to bottom. From side to side. When you turn him around, he's dirty. He is so dirty, okay? And why is he being selected, given every high-profile case, and then picking his golf buddy, Joe Spencer, and another very dirty attorney, Justin Underwood? Why is that happening? Right? And of course, Felix Valenzuela was on this too. But the three, really, Joe Spencer, Justin Underwood, and Sam Medrano, there seems to be a pattern, and there seems to be tampering with justice, tampering with the selection of judges and attorneys for cases, that there is a tampering with the machinery or an override, maybe a manual override, for the selection of which judge gets on a case and which attorneys are on a case. And there seems to be a huge pattern going on. And so I just wanted to make sure that the public knows that there is tampering. And we know from past history in El Paso, from Poison Ponds 1.0, with Julio Cordero, the most decorated FBI agent in El Paso history, with over 40 that were arrested for all of this fraud, right, in the courthouse, this courthouse fraud. And that is now and I'm thinking of Luther Jones, that there seems to be a repeat of what Luther Jones was doing by manipulating, tampering with the appointments of judges and attorneys in to high profile cases. Okay, that they are absolutely what's the right word? Rigging it. They're rigging the cases. Would that be the right word? Yeah, that they are rigging the cases. Yeah. So that this has to stop, right? Because there is enough evidence there and pattern there that I can come on a live stream and suggest that that is happening with a lot of confidence, probably total confidence. So that's why I wanted to play that for you. And there's more audio there that where he says, that he went in just 2 days after. And I wish I'll have that ready because this is going somewhere. Okay. And so, and of course, they have to have the El Paso Mormon faction cartel. They have to have control over the court cases. They have to have control over the prosecutor, which is look at what's going on with Montoya. I mean, and not only with Montoya, with his documents that let me see if I can bring that up because I think that's so important. Let's see if I have it down here that I can bring up. Yeah, here it is. So, this is clearly, you can see the difference between these two documents even far away, right? This is the original document with the 2028 stamp here. And this is where they're tampering with it, right? They're crossing it out. Let's see if I can show you. See how they crossed it out? They crossed it out and they're putting other stamps. And the problem is there's no initial here to say, okay, we made a mistake. I'm going to initial this or sign it, and then we'll put on the new timestamp. No, they manipulated this timestamp as well because it says 2024 November 13th at 2:52. They even went down to the minute, the same minute as this, to get this same date here. But that means they backstamped this. Okay, they backstamped this without initialing, and then also in the notary books, because this has a later stamp, right? And this is still they tampered with this. They tampered with this. This wasn't there. Okay, so this is a big problem. This is proof that they tamper with stamps, they tamper with documents, and we believe they tamper with the selection of judges and attorneys. And so this is why that is really, really important. And this is so illegal because you would have a different timestamp if you did it at, the next day or a week later, or, you would not back stamp it to that same exact minute. Okay. So I hope that that is clear. I think that is clear. This whole thing with El Mencho, I can't tell you how big it is. It is so big. It's not as big as Richard, but it's so, so big because we received the log, the ledgers were revealed to us. And that was the United States. Okay, the United States made sure that the ledgers would be revealed to us. And that really is just incredible because it shows Mexican police being bribed and paid out, Mexican prosecutors being bribed and paid out, all the way up into the president's office. It is a narco state. And so this is really putting pressure, including on Plenitude, because the families then know that this is a narco state, and they were given urns with crushed, pulverized construction material or animal bones, and that it's been months and months, and they still have not done their job. The process, of course, Carlos Manuel Salas let Jose Luis go on this Mexican bond, and then he broke the terms by going over to the United States in his $150 Audi, where he has tons of homes and businesses, and here he is doing the biggest humanitarian crime, right? Crimes against humanity, right? Crimes against humanity with being a flesh peddler. And this judge is in big trouble now. They're absolutely appealing. They're absolutely going after the judge, putting, I think there's like over 130 um, cases filed against this because of Plenitude Crematorium, whether it be for the prosecutor, whether it be for Plenitude Crematorium. That is huge, y'all. Over 130 complaints. And of course, we are standing right there with all the victims. We're standing right there with them because we believe our son's remains are there, and because evidence indicates that. So that is huge breaking news. And then, of course, the other huge breaking news, and I posted it up too, is that there's another funeral home that's involved in this. And there's so many, y'all. There's so many because it's in the United States. That means there's Americans there, okay? And that's why they are so slow in identifying these remains, because this absolutely is connected to the funeral homes there in El Paso, which is like scary as anything, right? It's just terrible when you can't even have faith or trust and when your loved one dies, right? With the funeral homes. So let's see where I posted that. Oh, this is the ambulance that they took Paul Foster out with. Let's see, here it is. How many more funeral homes? How many more in El Paso? Okay. So this Monte de los Olivos, which is very, that tells me a lot right there, is linked to the Plenitude Crematorium, and Purchase Funeral Homes, which is huge, huge in El Paso, and in Juarez is connected to this. Okay. And that's what this is here. Okay. That's what this is here. That's proof that they're connected. And of course, here is Rafael is right here. This is Jose Luis. This is the father that has passed away. And this is Rosa Marie Purchase Ariano Caron Ramirez. This is Colin Wenton, who absolutely is connected to this family in business ties. Okay, business. He has done business definitely with this family. And of course, this is this disaster, humanity, crimes against humanity. Um, so I want to, this down here is, well, I'll just go back up, because I pointed it out. But here is an email that was released, part of the Jeffrey Epstein millions of emails that you have to go through. And this talks about that he won an $80 million lottery, an $80 million lottery. And then it talks about the trafficking and everything in here. So this is really big, because you have this question: did Erika KIRK'S family help Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Trust win an $80 million lottery? And why would I even ask that question? Because what Candace Owens has released, and I thank her very, very much for all the research that she has done and releasing it and having the courage to do it under so much scrutiny, or so many attacks. And we understand that because of how many attacks that we have gotten. So we really appreciate her having that kind of bravery, because we knew right when it happened, and I even said it on my live streams, that our son's case is connected to the Charlie Kirk case. And the same thing with the cases of the attempts on President Trump's life. Okay. And this should be a positive message for everybody, even as horrible a message it is, because we can confirm to you that it's the same group, that it's not 3 different groups. Okay. It's not 5 different groups that are different groups that have nothing to do with each other, that are doing these very violent acts, right? It is the same, it's the one same group that's doing it, against our son, against Charlie Kirk, and the attempts on President Trump's life, and against whistleblowers in our son's case. It's the same group. And this should be such good news. It's good news for us, because now we know we decided to call them the Mormon Faction El Paso Cartel, in alliance with the Mexican cartel, in a lot, and a protection racket for the Jeffrey Epstein pipeline. And those tentacles go over to Fort Huachuca, go up to Chicago. Because they're in alliance with the CJNG cartel, the flesh peddling and human flesh eating cartel. They are in all 50 states, but it's the same group. It's the same group. And, just like President Trump can change an entire country like Argentina by removing Maduro, right? Now he has went into Iran, because the people of Iran, from what I understand, the people of Iran were crying out to the world to be released from the Ayatollah Khomeini, and I hope I'm saying that right. And now the reports are, and we'll see as the days come, that he has been removed, just like El Mencho. El Mencho is a very big deal that he was removed, El Chapo removed, El Mayo removed. So you have these very, very violent leaders being removed that have caused so much harm and death on people. So hopefully, there's some other things going on that I'm looking at, we're looking at to make sure that we're telling you the truth about what's going on in Iran, because we want to bring you the truth. We don't want to just jump right there on the bandwagon. Especially last night, I said we don't want any war because it's such a distraction from what we're doing, and what we're doing, it has so much momentum right now in exposing all of this corruption and criminality in our own country, in our own backyard, in our own neighbor of Mexico, to that we need to stay on this so that we can absolutely be effectual, right? Be effectual and remove this poison, remove um, this tyranny that and the infiltrators that have um, came into our systems, being it the Mexican system or the United States system. So we want to stay very focused on that because, of course, we're a little selfish. We want our son's remains. We want our son's remains, and we want his remains yesterday, right? So we're on this to drive them to give us our son's remains. Um, but now that President Trump did what he did, we'll see. We'll see in the upcoming days what this all means. If he acted swiftly, and he tends to do that really swiftly and not linger like Joe Spencer, like Judge Madrano, and exploit the open checkbook for millions and millions of dollars, right? So that is not President Trump's style at all. He's always trying to be under budget and ahead of schedule, under budget and ahead of schedule, to save the taxpayers' money and to bring in what he calls the golden age, the Trump golden age, prosperity, right? Prosperity. So, we'll see what happens after this and for the Iranians. And, when we lived in, I don't know if y'all know this, but my husband was in the old guard. He was um, selected to serve in the old guard, the Fife and Drum Corps, as a physician assistant to the old guard that guards, the unknown soldier, and performs all, I should say, not performs. Well, they do. They do a lot of performing, but they with the tattoos, right? With the military tattoos, but they also um, have to be part of all of these very decorated or funerals. A lot of funerals. So he was selected for that. He's a magnificent man, my husband. Um, of course, I'm biased. I'm biased. I'll admit that. I'm not biased like Bob Moore, that wants to be biased for evil and to deceive the public. I'm biased because he's my husband, right? And he is wonderful. So, but he was there, and now I lost my train of thought. Um, Being there in the Washington, D.C. area. And, oh, geez, I lost my train of thought with that. Well, what do you expect at 2 o'clock in the morning? What do you expect? My goodness. But Sam Madrano and Joe Spencer are absolute frauds, and I think they are absolute criminals. And that is my message. And we have a lot of evidence to back that up. And I think that they are manipulating the judicial system there for the El Paso Mormon faction cartel that are, just are the protection racket for the pipeline. And that pipeline continued um, after the arrest of um, Jeffrey Epstein, right? And in 2008, so think about this. In 1993, he buys Zorro Ranch. And in 2008, so he's in full swing with all this laboratory stuff, his transhumanism, the trafficking, and he gets the winning ticket for the lottery, $80 million. Do you buy it? I don't buy it. And so we have Erika KIRK'S family, who she does not reveal to the public. This is where this whole research that everybody's been doing is so important, because now we know who her family is, even though her father's picture is nowhere to be found. Why? I mean, why isn't he at the wedding? He's right there in Arizona. He's right there in TPUSA. He is a contractor. He has this big intelligence, military intelligence kind of business thing. Why is that? And I'll reveal more as we go. There's so much to tell everybody. So he is involved in her life. And she always just, says, "Oh, I was raised by my mother." But then she refers to her father's father as Mor-Far. And, so there's a lot of deception in the family. And that's because they have this history of, like, her grandfather, who just passed away not too long ago, was part of, and I'll read it to you, the American Banknote Company, a very old company in the United States that printed high security documents, U.S. banknotes, postage stamps, stock certificate, bonds, traveler checks, food stamps, and in this case, it's so critical, lottery tickets. So they received in 1974, 1974, the contract to print lottery tickets for the states, including New Mexico. And I know that's shocking, right? I'm reading it right off here. And I'll even turn this off so you can see Richard's face. But what in the world, when you have a daughter, so this grandfather, Charlie KIRK'S grandson-in-law, right? He was a grandson-in-law. So grandfather-in-law spent his career printing out lottery tickets. And so Kent, his name was Carl Kenneth Franchi, right? FRANZVE. His daughter married Jack Solomon, who was the casino empire with a fraud history in the gambling industry, money laundering. So this is so ironic that the man that spent his career overseeing printing of lottery tickets had a daughter who married into the empire, the casino empire, that profits off of gambling and fraud, right? Fraud. And this is Erika KIRK'S family. And her father, so, is working inside of TPUSA. And there's more to it, but I think that is like huge. And so I posted this up. Let's see. Posted this up with I love AI. You can you can make the neatest little images, if you put in the right instructions. Um, so I hope that you have time. But now, this is being backed up with this email that was released in these Epstein file releases. So I think that is just jaw dropping. I think that is really, I don't want to say it. It's just so much news. And let's talk real quick about Iran and what's going on with Iran. And I already mentioned that we would wait and see if Trump escalates this. And I just want to ask for um, prayers for it not to escalate, for the prayers for Iran, for the Iranians to do it themselves now, to take over, and for our government and all of the infiltrators that love war, like Lindsey Graham, to leave this alone. And I know they want to kind of go into Turkey, which is right behind me. The Saint Sophia is in modern day Istanbul, which was Constantinople. So, a place I've always wanted to go. I've always wanted to see um, the capital city of where Justinian and Theodora codexed family law, right? Anyway, thank you so much. I know I'm kind of very late tonight, but it can't be helped. We have to do this, and I ask to share, share, share. And thank you so much. And we will continue until we bring our son home and get accountability for him. Thank you so much, Anicia. And thank you, Kirk. Please DM me. Ricardo Samaniego must be prosecuted for crimes against humanity. 100%. And I haven't forgotten about him. Making everyone wear their mask and everything during COVID, and then letting his son have a party. It's laws, just laws for thee, but not for me. And they're always scamming. They're always scamming. They're always misleading. They're always lying. And of course, we caught him at the Cafe Central with Rafael Arellano, the owner of Plenitude Crematorium. Absolutely with the knowledge of Colin Wetton planning how they're going to handle the Plenitude Crematorium so that the victims, that they could get away with it, that they could maybe pay off that judge. I don't know how much they paid him off, but now the scrutiny is really driving them to act. That was also in the news today. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But we're going to keep going, keep posting, keep sharing, and keep standing next to these victims so that we can drive these very corrupt ministers and officials to do the right thing. Thank you so much.